Hi there. I've recorded this video fairly quickly because this product is still on sale at Aldi under special buys. They don't tend to last very long, so anybody that's maybe looked and has any interest in the Ferrex 10-inch bandsaw may want to watch this very quick video. There's very little editing in it. I just wanted to throw something together just to show it and a few little things that I found, and in hope that it may help somebody that's looking at buying this solution while it's still on sale at Aldi. This is in November 2021. Enjoy. And here it is, the 2021 Aldi or Ferrex branded 10-inch bandsaw. Let's get this bad boy open and see what's inside. And in the box there's a push stick, a blade. Whether this is a spare blade we'll find out, there's one already fitted in. We have the actual extending tray and the actual table itself, which obviously we need to install. We've got the mitre piece, which no doubt will be a lot of rubbish, as they all are. We have the fence, which actually locks on both sides, which is hopefully it means it will be fairly solid, but we'll see. And some spare bits and pieces that help with the assembly. We've got a just extraction hose and some bits and pieces in there. And here it is out of the box. Obviously there's some assembly required, which we shall look at in a second, but certainly in terms of paint job compared to the previous years, I think it looks a little bit more tasteful in the newer grey colour that Ferrex seem to be branding their goods. The Ferrex label itself is actually just stuck on, so if you didn't particularly want that, you could remove it. I think looking around the back, obviously the first really key bit to note is the model number HPS 261. So this shows that this is exactly the same as in previous, as in the model from a previous year, which is based on the Shapak HBS 261 model. In the box, as expected, there's a user manual and warranty card. It does look pretty much like there's a decent set of diagrams that are going to aid with assembly, but we'll see as we move through. I guess one of the good things here is that, as this is the same model as in previous years, I do know there are some good videos on the 2020 model, which can be used as a guide, which is probably a lot easier than using the user manual. And opening it up, we can see that it has a blade fitted. That actually would have probably been quite obvious. Anyway, without actually opening it up. Okay. All seems to be intact. It certainly feels fair. It certainly feels solid. Can't complain about the actual build, but we'll see how it is when we start her up. In terms of assembly out of the box, it is really straightforward. It will take 5 minutes. There's only 3 pieces to it from an assembly perspective. There's the tensioning screw, which is literally just pops into the top of the unit. There's a dust extraction port, which has 4 screws, which attaches it to the base of the unit here. And then there's the table itself, which literally you slide it through the blade, which is in position, and there is a tightening point just sat here on the underside, and that's really it. A little bit fiddly, but literally it will take you a couple of minutes. Sorry I didn't film it, but yeah, it really isn't that taxing on the brain. Okay, so just onto a few problems I've noticed. So on the table itself, on the other side of the mitre slot, if I run a straight edge across, it's hitting on there, which means that obviously the mitre edge, the side to the right of the mitre slot, is actually a tad higher. And obviously if I rest something on the top, it's very difficult to see, but actually there is a gap introduced just underneath you can see the light coming through, and that seems fairly consistent across the table. So there's not like a major, I wouldn't say there's a major dip in the table. However, if you've got something, or you're working with something that's going to be wide enough so that it's going to be resting partially on this right side of the mitre slot, it's not going to be level. So that's a problem. One other thing I've noticed is this. It's rubbing on this plastic guide here. We'll take this out. Problem goes away. So this is going to need to be sorted out. I'm just going to sand a bit off that plastic piece, stop that rubbing. A few of the minor things. I mean, look at that. That's just shoddy edges. That's, you know, the sharp bits there. I think they need to be filed off. I have managed to square the blade to the table. I mean, I wouldn't say it was absolutely 100%, but it's as near as damn it. There's not very much adjustment left in getting that into the zero, I guess the 0 degree position of the table, to make sure that this is actually then at 90 degrees to the actual blade. But I mean, that's about as close as I can get it. Just another thing, now this has been flagged actually in previous videos of the model last year. This fixing here, which is to do with fixing the sliding mechanism for the, I guess the tabletop extension, actually gets in the way of opening this this bottom door. So this is something which obviously hasn't changed. So now onto the fence itself, and that's not great. That's quite a way off being 90 degrees to the table. Further back, yeah, that is not great at all. Let's have a little look at how we can do to sort that out. Okay, so to actually fix the fence and actually get it so that it aligns itself to a 90 degree to the actual table, what I've actually done is, the plan is I'm going to actually create some sort of a shim under this side of the guide, and I've just taken a bit of playing card there and put it into that gap. I've folded it several times just to see how much needs to be put in there to get this to a point that allows us to sit at 90 degrees. The plan is, then, knowing probably how much is required, we can remove this part, unscrew this part, put a shim underneath it to raise it in relation to that side, so this side sits higher than that side, and then that hopefully should fix the problem. Okay, actually a very slight change of plan. Having looked at this in a bit more detail, this plastic piece here, which I thought we could lower down, is actually screwed through this point here internally. So actually you can only really adjust it in the horizontal direction rather than, I guess, in a more of a vertical direction. I also found that the screws have been tightened that much that it was going to be a real pain to actually get them off anyway, and probably wasn't going to give us any advantage. What I've actually done very crudely, just for the moment, is I've got a little bit of MDF and shaped it and glued it just into this end piece here on the underside of that plastic strip. I'm going to class this as a temporary fix because I'm going to have a bit of a think about trying to do something a bit more permanent. It might be that I need to dismantle the fence completely. It could be that might even change it for an aftermarket fence. I'm not sure. But what this will do is this allows this end to be shimmed up slightly, and the upshot of that is now is that is a better fit in relation to the table, i.e. it's more at a 90° than it was previously. So yeah, not particularly a great fix. I'm going to class this as a temporary one until I can think of another one, but if this serves anybody as a fix, then great. In terms of bandsaw setup, this is described better elsewhere in other videos, so I'm not really going to go into this in a massive amount of detail, but the key bits really are around the tensioning of the blade itself around the wheels, and for this particular bandsaw, the tensioning happens with this dial here. I'm turning it in a clockwise direction and creates tension on the blade. In terms of the way I have this seems well tensioned. The other bits that need to be adjusted are these guides, which are a set of bearings that the blade passes between on the left and right hand side of the blade, and there's also another one which sits just to the back of the blade. These can be adjusted. The whole idea is that you move them so they are as close to the blade as possible, passing down the left and right hand sides, or to the rear of the blade, but not close enough that they're touching as the blade passes between them. So if I move the blade now, that's passing between the bearings but not actually moving them. So you try and get them as close as you can, but without them actually moving when the blade passes between them. This is actually repeated on the underside of the bandsaw as well, just below the table. Same setup again, with the bearings to the left and right and also to the rear. On the underside of the bandsaw, these are actually adjusted using an Allen key. The ones above the table are adjusted using the appropriate spanner, and obviously these just slacken these off and allow you to move these left, right and close to the blade. One thing I'm not really going to cover in detail is this slider miting attachment, simply because they tend to be quite naff and quite rubbish, and this is no exception. It is loose and practically, well, useless. So I'm probably not going to use it. If I do come to use it, there are some things which you can do to actually make it a little bit more usable, involving wrapping some tape actually around this here, just to obviously increase the width of it, and it makes it sit in the miter slot a little bit more snug. But yeah, probably not going to use it, so no major problem there. I guess the next big question is does this thing actually work? If we fire it up, let's test see if the motor works. Okay, I think the next point is we're going to be on to making all the adjustments. Get this finger properly set up. As previously said, I need to, I guess, file or sand a little bit off this plastic insert that's rubbing on the actual blade itself. Okay, so I think this is going to conclude this video. I will make a subsequent video where I'll actually do some proper test cuts, but I kind of run out of time, and also this is not the most ideal location to do it. I need to actually get this down into the workshop and test it. But in terms of conclusions, it seems to be fairly well built. Yes, I think you're paying obviously a budget price for something which I think if you're expecting this out of the box to be absolutely perfect, for the price that you've paid, I think you've probably got the wrong expectation. There are niggly things, but they're all things that can be sorted out, such as making an adjustment to the fence so that you can get it 90 degrees to the table itself. But I think if you're willing to live with such things, then this may, obviously pending doing some test cuts, this may actually represent a fairly cost-effective bandsaw solution. And also, I mean, this is a copy of the Shapak HBS 261 model. And I think that sort of retails around about the 250 mark without looking it up. So yeah, you've essentially got exactly the same thing here, with a slightly different paint job for £100 cheaper. So I guess in that respect, assuming it cuts well, this is probably going to be a bargain. Okay, we'll hopefully see you in the second video where we'll do some test cuts.